Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here with a new YouTube video. Today's final of the day, Streets of New Capenna is live on Magic Arena. So I've been able to build a bunch of decks and start a new series of new decks. These are going to be standard decks. I'm personally focusing on getting ready for the Streets of New Capenna set championship, which is going to have a standard component. And also, I think being realistic, people are not that big of a fan of alchemy. Which I've had fun with alchemy, but it seems like most people are not. So I am looking forward to hopefully getting some higher quality matchups as I test out these decks for you guys. So the deck I'm going to choose to start with is going to be a green-black kind of ramp deck. I know that Ob Nixilis, the new 3-mana red and black planeswalker, is the most hyped card in the set, and I'm going to kind of shy away from that, at least initially, because I want to look for what things are good at beating it, in addition to just, what things are good on their own. I'm going to be approaching the format from the angle of what can I do to beat the people playing with Ob Nixilis, not from the angle of what's the best way to play with Ob Nixilis. I'm sure that lots of other people are going to be trying to build the best possible Ob Nixilis deck. So with that in mind, this is my attempt to use a bunch of the new tools in green for ramping and the new payoffs for ramping. So I guess let's get to the big new payoff first. I talked about this in a video about Streets of New Capenna I did with Matt Sperling, but we've got a 7-mana, 7/7 reach trample that when it enters the battlefield, you get two things. You get to choose two of these four. Destroy an artifact or enchantment, gain 5 life, get a 4/4 rhino, or put a shield counter on the creature you control. So just a tremendous amount of stats, assuming you're getting the 7/7 and the 4/4. Also, you're just going to get probably like a card's worth of value. I mean, if you're killing one of your opponent's artifacts or enchantments, that's certainly worth a card. If you're gaining 5 life, that's probably going to be worth a card in the scenarios where you're going to be doing it. So you're kind of, the 4/4 Rhino is also worth a card. So it's sort of like 7 mana for 7/7 reach trample that you draw 2 cards. I haven't cast this card yet, but I think that this is a really strong ramp payoff. I'm excited to play with it. Then we've got some existing cards. Turntimber Symbiosis. I wanted to just have a really high land count in my deck, but given that I've done that, I want to make sure that I don't just get flooded. So I've got one Turntimber Symbiosis. Obviously, it can find the Titan of Industry a lot of the time when you cast it, which is a pretty big deal. 2 copies of Storm the Festival, which does not allow you to put Titan of Industry into play, sadly, but I've got some other permanents it can put into play. I think that this is a pretty strong green ramp payoff. We'll have to see, though. 3 copies of this new Workshop Warchief. This is kind of the new version of Thragtusk. So 5 mana for 5/3 trample. And when it dies, you get a 4/4 Rhino, but it has to die. It's not just leaves the battlefield. You do gain 3 life when it enters the battlefield. So in those ways, it's kind of reminiscent of Thragtusk. It also has this ability, for 6 mana, you can blitz it, meaning you put it into play and it has haste, but it's going to die. It's going to be sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step, but you're going to get your card back. So I think that that is going to be a pretty appealing mode on this card. I think this is going to be one of the blitz cards where you're going to cast it either way a lot of the time. Like, it's not going to be one mode you'd use 90% of the time. I think it's going to be pretty evenly split. Excited to try this one out. 2 copies of Shadow's Verdict. I honestly, until a viewer on my stream told me that this was a good card in Standard, I thought it had rotated out. The thing that's appealing about Shadow's Verdict is the fact that it exiles 3-mana planeswalkers. So I think part of solving this Standard format is going to be looking for what cards can you play with that lets you catch up once you've fallen behind against an Ob Nixilis that gets copied. And Shadow's Verdict, because it kills all the 3-mana planeswalkers and all the 3-mana or less creatures, I think is going to be a way to do that. I think this is potentially a very important card in this Standard. 4 copies of the Binding of the Old Gods, because I am a ramp deck. This is also a card that allows me to deal with bigger creatures, planeswalkers. I mean, Obviously, it's an okay removal spell, and it's a good ramp spell, so that's why I've got it here. One copy of the Celestus. I've come to like this in decks that want to get to bigger mana amounts because I want to have a lot of lands in my deck. So the potential to loot them away in a long game matters. Also, just the tiny amount of life gain you get from this card can matter. We've got another new card, the Topiary Stomper. And this is 4/4 Vigilance. You get to search for your choice of basic lands. You can get swamps. You can get forests, obviously. You get a 4/4, but you can't attack or block with it until you have 7 or more lands. So this is one of the payoffs for ramping is to just get to the point where this becomes a card that can attack or block. Also, I have Reckoner Bankbusters in my deck, which this card can crew the Reckoner Bankbuster, which I think is a really strong synergy that I'm definitely looking to try out. One Soul Transfer. This is a reasonable removal spell, but it's also in my deck because I've got 2 copies of Shigeki, and with Soul Transfer to return a creature from your graveyard to the hand, once you get enough mana in play, you can set up a loop with Shigeki. So I want to have at least 1 copy of Soul Transfer in my deck, I think, if I'm playing with Shigekis. The ability to get both of this modes turned on in the deck, you can do that. There's Bankbusters and Celestus in terms of artifacts. There's Binding of the Old Gods and Meathook Massacre in terms of enchantments, and Shigeki is also an enchantment. So it is possible to get both modes. You're not going to get that all that often. I wouldn't, just hold it in your hand waiting to set that up. You should probably just cast it when you can if you have a good reason to. Then the rest of the 2-mana plays, we've got Meathook Massacre. Like I said, it's just really an incredibly good card, and I think it's well worth playing in pretty much any black deck. Tangled Florahedron is, it's a land some of the time, but it's also a ramp spell. I think this is a really appealing ramp spell. I've seen some other people play like Azusa, the Saga, and that card I think is awful. I think Tangled Florahedron really does what you want in terms of ramping. And a couple of Infernal Grasps to round out the removal. If we look at the number of lands in the deck, which they've changed this view again. Okay, so there's 25 actual lands, plus Turntimber Symbiosis, plus 4 Tangled Florahedrons. This deck has a tremendous amount of mana in it. But what I'm banking on is that getting to Titan of Industry is going to be worth it. That getting to Storm the Festival is going to be worth it when I then get to flash it back again. And also just getting a ton of mana in play to use with Shigeki is going to be worth it. But like any deck in this format, you can also just get a tremendous amount of value from your lands. So I've got 2 Lair of the Hydras. I've got a Hive of the Eye Tyrant. I've got Takenuma. I've got Boseiju. Those are all lands that can be used to, be a creature or generate a spell effect. I also have 1 cycling land, this is Ziatora's Proving Ground. This is a green-black, comes into play tap dual land, but importantly, you can just get it with Binding of the Old Gods. So if you're resolving the second mode on the Binding of the Old Gods, this is a way to go and get a black mana, and you can only get a forest. And it will also probably be the first land you want to get with Binding of the Old Gods most of the time. The one exception would be if you know that you're going to get enough lands into play and that you would immediately cycle the Proving Ground. If it was the land you drew for your turn, you might want to just get a forest out of your deck instead. Then the kind of the usual suspects, the Pathways and the Glade, and that rounds out all the lands. Looking at the sideboard, this sideboard is admittedly going to be pretty rough. This is going to be the first run through with this deck, but I've got cards that I think are going to line up well in the format. More Meathook Massacres, Ray of Enfeeblement against White Weenie, Soul Shatter against Goldspan Dragon, some Esika's Chariots if I want to have, more ways to pressure like a blue counterspell style deck if there's a blue control deck. Some Duresses for mostly the same matchup. Wow, I did not change this Duress Heart. I'm really going to regret that. And a Bloodchief's Thirst, just have another cheap removal spell. So that's kind of like the main things I'm targeting with this. Once I see how Shadow's Verdict performs, it might turn out that I just want a lot of copies of that in post-board games against Red-Black. But I'm starting with only these 2. So that's the deck. I'm going to go ahead and run it through some matches, but it's going to be a little bit different this video because one of the other things that's happened with this patch is that there are now new structures to the events. So this event cost me, I think, 5,000 gold to enter. And I'm playing, I think it's till you lose, I think you're eliminated with your second loss. I'm not really sure, honestly. I'm going to try out the structure of this event. It now pays out in gems and packs, whereas before it paid out in gold and in the like kind of random ICR cards you used to get. Their intent was to make it better to play in these events to kind of build your collection. So I want to see how that plays out. You also get these new play-in points, which are for the qualifier weekend. A play-in point has roughly the value of 200 gems, with the caveat that it's much harder to spend than gems. You can only spend it in this one particular tournament that's going to happen each month. I guess it's going to happen, the tournament's going to happen twice a month is my understanding, but you can only use it to enter that, and it requires 20 play-in points. So really the play-in point tokens, they're pretty anti-consumer because it's just another currency that you're not necessarily going to be able to spend on what you want as you accrue it. I'm somebody who's probably going to plan to play in the qualifier weekends, so the play-in points might be valuable to me. If they aren't valuable, like if you're not someone who's going to play in those tournaments, they have no value. So you don't want to include them in figuring out whether or not these events are right for you. I think I need to get to 4 wins to get my entry fee back, maybe. I don't know. This is my first time trying one of these. Let's see how it goes. I guess the sand is fine. I mean, my deck's a lot of lands. And I put a lot of lands in my deck because I wanted to draw a lot. So I guess that's what I've signed up for. I'm going to be able to use this to get a swamp, so I'll have access to double black mana on turn 4 to cast Soul Transfer. And I drew one of my payoff cards, so that's nice. Opponent's probably up to some sort of white-black sack strategy. I think that if they go red land and play Obnixilis here, I'm going to be really unhappy. I'm realizing I made a mistake. I probably should have played this land last turn so that I would have give myself the option to play Soul Transfer next turn if I want to. Which I think I probably wouldn't want to. But there was no reason to sequence my hand in a way that I didn't even give myself the option. This is looking pretty good, though. Now I'll be able to play Soul Transfer next turn, and then I'll do a turn 5 Storm the Festival, turn 6 Titan of Industry, and hopefully that's going to be good enough. There's no mirth to be had at all. Alright, I'm glad they didn't make the vampire. Because I think I would have soul transferred the Sorin regardless of whether they made the vampire or not. Question is, do I want to play this as a tapped land? Or save it to maybe cycle? I think I should just play it as a tapped land. I think I'm going to continue to make land drops up until the point that I can storm the festival. It's Spider Queen. These are starting to get a little bit out of control. Let's see if I can hit something that helps me. 2 Workshop Warriors. Is that going to help me? I think so. That's looking pretty good. Now, do these rhinos have trample? They do not. That was a lot of stats to put into play off of Storm the Festival. I didn't talk about it in the deck overview, but I've kind of made an intentional choice not to play Renin 7 or Esika's Chariot in my main deck. In large part because I just wanted to try other cards out, but I didn't really want to make another Esika's Chariot deck, and I've never been very impressed by Renin 7 in decks that don't play Esika's Chariot.
Exchange for loyalty. Aren't I generous?
So I guess we're trying to hit Lolth, which is not going to work. And then I should make a shield counter on this. I'm mostly concerned about... Wait, does the shield counter even help against... dealt damage or destroyed? The shield counter doesn't even help against Vanishing Verse, which is one of their potential cards they could have. I think I'm still going to just get the shield counter, though. I don't really know what removal they actually have. Let's just go for a shield counter and another Rhino. I have a lot of these Rhinos. It's pretty nice.
Oh, yes.
I'm well supplied with Rhinos. They're well supplied with Shambling Ghasts. So I'll lose my shield counter if they chump this. I think that's fine. I'm a really big fan of this card. I've mostly been playing Alchemy, and it just wasn't as good as City Stalker Connoisseur. But it seems like it shows up sometimes in Standard. Still gonna be 1 mana short on the Storm the Festival next turn. Hopefully I draw another Titan of Industry. The shield counter does help me against their Death Touch creatures, so it's definitely not useless, but it's probably not useful.
You reek with my will cannot be denied.
And it's debatable whether it might not have been better to just get rid of this Meathook Massacre. I think I've taken 3 or 4 damage from the Meathook Massacre so far. Did they draw with this thing? I think they drew with it. That kind of amazes me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Still can't do this. Nope. I think I'm just going to go with their face. very unfortunate I didn't draw a Titan of Industry this turn. That would have been fun and powerful. So they got rid of the shield counter. I guess it's possible that they have actual just depopulate type thing, so that now the Titan of Industry can die to that. Meathook Massacre for 7. The shield counter would not have saved me from that anyway. So they're going to 9, and they're going to have 2 spiders. It makes me feel like I wish I had attacked the Lolth last turn. I want a Meathook Massacre for 0. Just have a Tangled Florahedron. I think I just want a Tangled Florahedron. I really need to find another copy of Titan of Industry. Oh, this guy's Vigilance. That's nice. I didn't realize that.
I will get what I want.
Seems like we're past the point where my deck can win. I guess I could win. I just need to draw Meathook Massacre or Titan of Industry.
Do my will cannot be denied.
Come on, Meathook Massacre. Come on, Titan of Industry. I think really the problem in this game was they did a fair amount of stuff that allowed them to draw multiple cards. And I sort of did. I mean, I played Storm the Festival and flashed it back. Titan of Industry was kind of multiple cards. But I didn't generate enough card advantage. And now I die if I play this Infernal Grasp, so I'm not going to bother. Oh, because of the Meathook Massacre and the 2 life. So what do we want? Definitely don't want these Infernal Grasps in my deck. They were kind of awful. I think Shadow's Verdict would also be pretty bad. Meathook Massacre seemed like it'd be fine. I don't know if I want 4, but I want some more. Maybe 1 or 2 Duresses. Let's go with 2 Duresses and 1 Esika's Chariot for variety. Shigeki also would be a really good card if I ever drew it. Apologies again about this Duress art. This is potentially one of my favorite starts, the turn 3 Chariot start on the play. Like 2 Bankbusters is not ideal. It would have been nice to draw one of these last game. There is a problem if they have Deadly Dispute that they get the ideal start of Dispute to kill your 2-drop by disputing away the Shambling Ghast, which is really miserable when that happens. They didn't do it, which means they probably don't have the Dispute, but it is possible that they just wanted to Dispute into a turn 3 Lolth, which is another thing that can happen. Seems like they're getting priority, so yeah. They either messed up and should have killed this, or they're going to play a Lolth on their turn. This is crew 4. So there's no, like, using the bank, like, having the Florahedron crew the Bankbuster. I guess that helps. I can crew, by playing a Bankbuster, I can use a Florahedron and a cat to crew the Chariot, so one of my other cats could attack if I needed to for some reason. Opponent's really in the tank. Go blank. I think we're going to give up on a Florahedron and a Bankbuster. They're still not even playing the Lolth. Wow. Yeah, I'd be able to fight through the Lolth, but it wouldn't be an enjoyable experience.
Are you enraptured by my beauty? Aren't I the generous one?
I could, in theory, Meathook for 1. Could also Binding the Old Gods. One of these probably die. The Lolth probably dies if I do that. I don't know that there's a need to be that fancy, though. I could have crewed the Bankbuster, but I don't really want to trade the Bankbuster with 2 spiders. So I don't think that that's even worth giving my opponent the option of doing that, because I just have such control of the game that I don't think I need to give them a way to get rid of one of my sources of card advantage. It's a very different game from the first game, where the first game I was just all lands. This game, it's been a bit of a struggle. Question is, do I want to play the Shigeki? I think the answer is no. Maybe the answer should be yes. I guess I'll play it. We'll have Death Touch next turn. And that's got to count for something. Let's put up a reasonable fight given how badly the game started for them. Would I want to trade my Bankbuster with their 4/4 token? I don't think so. I'm going to destroy the Celestus, though. I'm going to destroy the Celestus and make a 4/4. So that's all one trigger. That's interesting. That means that if they had sacked the Celestus in response, I wouldn't have gotten the 4/4. I'm really surprised that card works that way. Ah, it's the new Elspeth. I don't think that's going to save them.
I'll be on the front lines.
Does seem like it's probably a pretty good card in their deck. It's probably not better than the Wandering Emperor, though. They have the Wedding Announcement, and it has a shield counter. What happens if I Meathook for 2? They would go to 5. Not sure it completely kills them, but it's probably pretty good. It actually does kill them. The industriousness of the Titan industry was too much for them. I wonder if I should just have more Esika's Chariots and fewer Workshop Warchiefs in this matchup. Pretty reasonable hand. The real question is, do I want to play the Bankbuster on turn 2 or Shigeki on turn 2? I'm very likely to want to play the Topiary Stomper on turn 3. So I'd be kind of foregoing 4 damage. But my turn 4 is going to be cast the Shigeki instead of bounce it back to my hand. I'll be drawing a card instead of casting this. I think I should cast this. I don't feel that strongly, though, that that was the correct play. It's also possible I'm not even going to cast Shigeki on turn 4 now that I drew the Celestus. I might just go Celestus, draw a card with the Bankbuster. I think I'm not going to attack now. I want to be able to tax them if they want to draw a card off the wedding announcement. They're pretty unlikely to be able to kill the Bankbuster. Doesn't die to Vanishing Verse. They haven't shown any Infernal Grasps yet. I don't think it makes any sense to play the Shigeki here. I have so many lands. I should have played the Lair of the Hydra. That would have made sense. I guess the one way that playing the Shigeki might make sense is I might actually need it to stock up my graveyard some before I can bring stuff back with it. It's a Spider Queen. I don't like that much.
My children drench their hands in the blood of my enemy. Aren't I generous?
It does not seem worth sending the Bankbuster in to die here to the 2 spiders. Could have crewed it with the Rhino, but that just does not seem like a good use of a card. Not great, not awful. It's annoying that so much of the removal exiles. Not sure why. They're getting to draw a card, but they're making it so that their Lolth is going to die. Is that worthwhile?
We will slay our enemies. I return to the abyss.
Go blank. The Shigeki was going to be hard to use anyway. Let's let you look at the top 7 cards. Got an okay shot at hitting a Titan of Industry off of that. It's not the play. Alternately, I could go Topiary Stomper, Binding of the Old Gods. Well, I can draw a card off of this and then sack the treasure to play the Binding of the Old Gods. I think the easiest thing to do is to start by attacking. Workshop Warchief does hit pretty hard. Which is nice. This is going to be one of those scenarios where I'm just going to leave the Ziatora's Stomping Ground or whatever that Tri-Land is called in my deck, because I think if I were to draw it, I would be happy to draw it and then cycle. That's a lot of dead stuff. Get the Rhino, though. I need that in the Seaf soundboard so I can just say Rhino Mania. 4, 5, 6, 7, so I can afford to do both. I think I learned my lesson that it's not worth getting the shield counter. They just don't have enough stuff that it protects against, and the Meathook Massacre actually did a little bit. So. Feeling pretty good about this position. It's another Lolth.
You could have such power, but you are too weak to take it. generous.
One card I haven't seen from them yet is the Wandering Emperor, but they're not leaving enough mana up to cast it anyway. It's going to matter. More rhinos, all rhinos. So they can't really effectively block this at all, so they're definitely going to 3. They appear to be going to very dead. Not a bad showing. This looks like it might be one of those hands where the Bankbuster's way worse than Maze Mind Tome would have been. If I miss my 3rd land drop, it's going to be really sad. But it also has the possibility that it's going to be way better than Maze Mind Tome. So if I make my 3rd land drop and I get to play the Stomper, then the Bankbuster's going to be dealing 4 damage. The Hunt for Specimens is on. Ugh, that's such an ugly draw. What should I do? I think I'm just going to play the Bankbuster and hope that I draw an untapped green. If I don't, next turn I'll play the Florahedron and I'll draw a card. Against a black deck, they're fairly likely to be able to kill this, which would be fairly disastrous. Hunt for Specimens continues. My opponent is a well-known specimen hunter. It's the 2nd environmental sciences they got. That's disrespectful to your sideboard. You should not play tons of copies of that card in your sideboard. So I'm going to storm the festival here, which means it is possible I'll get a land and the Stomper will just attack, which I think that's what I will do. I don't think it matters whether I get a forest or a swamp there. Sadly, Shadow's Verdict does kill my Topiary Stompers. Not that I'm very likely to cast it in this game, but maybe I will now that they have a Sedgemoor Witch. And a Cram Session. Holy cow. This seems like the kind of matchup where a shield counter would actually... Well, it'll be okay. First time it runs into a pest token, the shield counter will fall off, which is not desirable. guess I could have afforded to attack with the Bankbuster. They weren't going to block it with the Sedgemoor Witch and a Pest token, I don't think. Alright, you win, opponent. I'll play Shadow's Verdict. Or wait, will I? I could also just Binding of the Old Gods. Scavenger. It seems more appealing. I'm attacking with a lot of large creatures. It's pretty nice. I don't know what they have in their deck exactly. That might have been a spot where they wanted to block the Titan of Industry to get rid of the shield counter. See if it can save them. I don't think it does. I don't think it's even close to saving them. So they're a black deck. They're a black learn deck. I think Meathook Massacre is going to serve me better than Shadow's Verdict. Infernal Grasp seemed like it was quite poor. It's the Warchief probably isn't as good as the Chariot. I know I like my hands that are just land heavy in this deck, but this is too much. Seems fine. What don't I want, though? Maybe not the Titan of Industry. It's between that and the Meathook Massacre. Maybe it should just be the Meathook Massacre. The Titan of Industry, if my deck functions, I know is going to be good. The Meathook Massacre, it's going to depend on what they do. If they play a Sedgemoor Witch next turn, I will Soul Transfer it. That thing I think I can actually afford to ignore for a turn or two. I do need to kill this after the Shigeki bounces back to my hand because it's going to get a lot larger. This returns as a cost, so there's not really a lot of reason to use it right away. Lol.
Envy the strong, for they a gift in exchange for loyalty.
I guess I can put the shield counter on the Topiary Stomper. That's kind of cool. might not have been a good idea if they have blood on the snow. Which it looks like this should be the kind of deck that has blood on the snow in it.
It's bold to bargain with me.
Rika Domnathi.
My will cannot be denied.
Now I've got the Shigeki loop. I'll get back Soul Transfer Binding and Topiary Stomper. Can you get back lands? Non-legendary cards, so you can get back lands. Not that I want to in this scenario. Titan of Industry can block the Domnathi if necessary. I don't think I'll be doing that though. I don't think it will be necessary. I'll just kill the Domnathi. There's no reason to do that before attacking, but I did it. It's done. Professor Onyx.
Open your books to... Well, darn. Looks
Okay.
like you flunked out.
And Eye Twitch to boot. Guess I'm going all out to kill Professor Onyx.
Great. So much for a new start.
More Henrique and Domnathis. Starting to get a little scary. So if I want to bring back 3 things, that's 8 mana, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can cast Topiary Stomper as well this turn. Or I could play a Binding of the Old Gods. I can't play a Topiary Stomper because there wasn't one in my graveyard to begin with. That was a mistake on my part. So if they want to, they'll be able to send the Hive of the Eye Tyrant in to get my Shigeki and break up this loop I've got going on, but I think the damage has kind of been done at this point. Might just gain 5 life. Other than that, get the shield counter. The shield counter will be so easy for them to remove with an Eye Twitch. So they're probably going to chump and get Mascot Exhibition. I ran out of basics. 5, 6, 7. Milled 2 forests. 5, 6. So I've got, I think I have 1 swamp left in my deck. Let's get it out of here. Let's have no more basics left in the deck. And an army of dinosaurs and rhinos ready to attack. The hunt for specimens is on. This opponent has way too many low impact cards in their deck. Also, why are they spending mana on this instead of casting Mascot Exhibition? I guess maybe they think they just need to draw Blood on the Snow. I guess if they have Blood on the Snow, maybe that made sense to do. Is that even worth casting? I don't think so. I think I'm kind of in a spot where I'm going to win, barring them having a Blood on the Snow, so I might as well set up for that eventuality. Get the Professor Onyx out of their yard. For another... You know, that's probably the best thing for them to bring back with Blood on the Snow. The Henriquez would be fine too for them, but it wouldn't be enough. I don't think they really have a way out of this. Nice. But not really a way out of it. I think I could have gotten to 14 damage there. Maybe I could have. 7 mana cruise both of them, and then I need I need 15 mana to kill them. I guess I actually had 9. I think I had exactly 15. I think I could have killed them. Lots could go wrong with this hand. I'm choosing optimism. Is a Grixis deck at a minimum. Guess it could be more, it could be less. I do have one of these in my deck and I'm not even playing Jund. Well, something good, like a swamp. Swamp counts as something good. I think it's probably really good practice to kill their creature there, just so they don't make a double Obnixilis on their turn. Which here we can see they even pitched an Obnixilis, meaning they probably have another one in their hand. But if they can't kill the Shigeki, they can't stop me from getting these Titans of Industry on the board, probably. Alright, it's a double Obnixilis. First time getting to fight through this.
I've conquered entire plains.
I'm not going to be discarding any of these cards. I'll tell you that for free. Oh, getting Confront the Past. That's pretty cool off of iTwitch.
Pleasure doing business with you. Your punishment is my entertainment.
I might discard that Forest. Let's see. I think I am going to be playing these to gain 5 life. I'm going to end the turn at their turn probably at 8 life. Because I'm going to Infernal Grasp this unless they play something I really have to kill. Evoke Despair. Ugh.
Plead for mercy.
I think I'll just discard this land.
Defy me, and you'll lose everything.
Thought I was doing really well before that Invoke Despair. Even here, I don't feel like I'm out of it completely. But maybe I am. Why didn't they kill the Titan? Probably have Infernal Grasp. Mauling, same difference.
Go ahead. Plead for mercy. Defy me, and you'll lose everything.
What does this ultimate do? Draw 7 cards and lose 7 life. So I can't ignore that unless I can kill them. Which doesn't look like I'm going to be able to kill them. On 3rd Titan of Industry. I could really use 5 life. Gigantic Tangled Florahedron. Not what I was looking for. Am I just dead on board? I am. They just go plus plus. Confront another Obnixilis back and plus again, I think.
Plead for mercy by coin or carnage. Tribute is owed. Enough with your petty notions of morality. All that matters is power. Your punishment is my entertainment.
Well then. So far I've not been very impressed with having Infernal Grasp in my deck. Alright, I've got my anti-Obnixilis card. That's good. Oh, I could have hit a Workshop Warchief. And that Turntimber Symbiosis, and that would have been fine as well. More eye twitchiness. Alright, so now next turn I'm guaranteed to be able to cast Shadow's Verdict. Which honestly isn't even that good. If they have an Ob-Nixilis. Little chat. I don't have any idea what this card does. Let's find out. So it's kind of just cast two, like double Anticipate. That doesn't seem like a particularly good card. I guess if you really want ways to get rid of Eye Twitch, but this is a massively worse card than Deadly Dispute. Maybe they feel like they don't have enough cheap creatures for Deadly Dispute. Can I beat Ob-Nixilis if they play it this turn? I think I probably can. Duress. That's not pleasant. Took Shigeki back, Bankbuster, and Shadow's Verdict. Or I could just Binding of the Old Gods, the Fable, the Mirror Breaker. I think I'm just going to pass and I'll Shigeki back, probably the Bankbuster and the Shadow's Verdict, but I'll see if they decide to cast something that makes me play differently. This does mean that now the Shadow's Verdict would be getting rid of my own creature too, which is obviously not desirable. Could get back the Workshop Warchief instead. Just Binding the Old Gods as Reflection of Kiki Jiki. If I play the Shadow's Verdict, that's going to exile my own Shigeki from my graveyard. Just a little bit unfortunate. So I might not want to do that. They have an untapped land that can play Mascot Exhibition this turn, but I think that I'll have a fair amount of time against the Mascot Exhibition just with the Workshop Warchiefs. Kind of annoying. I wanted another land. Alright, so they're ahead on cards. I'm a little ahead on mana. Slightly ahead on board. I would say I'm behind, but not by a crazy amount. In theory, at least, we should be getting to the point where my cards are more powerful than theirs. It's like my top deck should be better. It's possible that's not even the case, though. Possible it's just my cards are more expensive, but not actually better. Do you want to just Shadow's Verdict? Start hitting them. Seems like not the worst idea. And next turn I can go binding whatever they happen to play then, play another Workshop Warchief and see if they can get out of that. I also have a Lair of the Hydra that can potentially hit for a lot of damage if they're put in a spot where they can't block it. Eye Twitch, huh? So far, I think that this card Workshop Warchief has actually played better than I was expecting it to. I was expecting it to be nothing special. It's been a little bit better than that. I wonder if they're going to trade their Hive of the Eye Tyrant for the Warchief. No, but they are going to trade a spell for it. That's fine, too. Do you think they put this in their deck just because it makes the stacks take such a long time to resolve because they get to make so many decisions? It's a little bit worse if they have a Meathook Massacre next turn, but it is more damage for this turn. I guess they could have multiple Bloodchief's Thirst, and then it wouldn't be. We need the Titan of Industry to come save us. Oh, they did have multiple Bloodchief's Thirsts. Very sad. On Titan of Industry. Shadow's Verdict is not the one I was dreaming of. Excuse me. It's going to be a long video. Oh, that's a good card. Shadow's Verdict is quite strong against it, though. Yeah, I'm just going to lose life on both of these. Ooh, they're getting a devil token. They want to protect their thing from Lair of the Hydra. That makes sense. Shadow's Verdict gets the underdog out of their graveyard. They also could have blitzed it, which I think they should have. I don't know why they didn't. I guess it's possible they have a Hydra Mauling type card. I think I'm willing to just run this into a Hydra Mauling here, because it's one less removal spell they can have for Lair of the Hydra. So far in this style of matchup, it seemed like Binding the Old Gods was a lot worse than Shadow's Verdict. Have we done any Titan of Industries yet? I have not. My deck is rich with Titans of Industry. 1 in 9 shot of drawing one next turn. I think the shield counter is the way to go here. It's kind of hard to know without knowing what's in their deck. Doesn't seem worth the spell to use the Binding of the Old Gods on the Meathook Massacre for sure. Guess I could also just crew this thing, but I'm just going to draw a card, given that they kind of messed up and should have waited for me to attack first. Despair. I'll weep, but not that much. So this is 5 damage. That's an important number to know when figuring out how to size the Lair of the Hydra. There's no reason not to just do this for it all. 10. I have a video on the QQ functionality, which is what I just did to figure out how big to make the Lair of the Hydra. If you just hit QQ, it'll tap all of your lands for mana, and you can, you know, look at how much you wind up with in your pool. And it is a slog to kill people. It's been so long since I've even had a good turn, but they're still not dead. Another Meathook Massacre? Is that actually going to save them? It is. Holy cow. Ridiculous. Now I could easily die to this Hive of the Eye Tyrant. The deck is no longer as rich with Titans of Industry as it was at one point. Should maybe have a Field of Ruin or two in my deck. Would probably be good. That was a good draw. Well, on Titan of Industry. Workshop Warchief. That wasn't a terrible draw. Do they even have creatures in their deck? What are they going to get? Nothing? They just whiffed. Whiff, swing and a miss. I'll do this with the activation on the stack in case they have that instant speed casualty thing. They'd have to spend more mana if they want to be able to sack it. They have a basic? They do. It's an island. Surprising. I have 3 Titans of Industry left, 27 cards. We're back to a 1 in 9 shot at being industrious. I don't die to an Invoke Despair, but it certainly isn't going to be good. It won't be healthy for me. They only have 12 cards left in their deck. They've invoked Despair, I think, 3 times this game, maybe twice.
Your punishment is my entertainment.
There we go. The profit of having the cycling land in my deck. Come on, Titan of Industry. That is a really good card. So I can get back. Sack the treasures. I can get back 4 things. Or I could get back like 2 things. I think I'm just going to sack. I'm going to discard the Meathook Massacre and get back 4 things. Soul Transfer and 2 Workshop Warchiefs. And just some other card. And that seems like it's going to be quite good.
My coin or carnage.
You get back a Binding of the Old Gods. Oh, this is the first time I've seen this card played. This card doesn't seem particularly good to me. It seems like a much worse version of Shambling Ghast. I guess I should get a Bankbuster. Warchief. Soul Transfer. I think that's probably better than getting back a Binding of the Old Gods and just trying to kill this thing. I think I should kind of ignore it at this point. I can probably kill them just by blitzing 2 Warchiefs, honestly. Meathook Massacre was pretty disappointing, that game. Was it? Binding of the Old Gods might have been even more disappointing. Not the greatest hand I've ever seen. This thing is really good. It's a very impressive card. Need a Binding of the Old Gods. Whoa, they stood pat. That's a bad sign. That's a real bad sign. I'm going to invoke some despair on me. Alright. I didn't enjoy it. Come on, Titan of Industry. Did I actually come back from this? It seems extremely unlikely. But if their hand is not good, it is possible. And put me down to 1. But then I'll be going back up to 4. Should I attack? I think so. Maybe that was bad. Maybe I was supposed to let them attack in that spot. I did that there because of whatever that blue card was called again, but I am giving them an extra mana, but they didn't choose to take advantage of that, so I'm not going to get punished. I like not getting punished. Do they die to the massacre? No, right? Still seems somewhat good. Oh, wait. Not sure that was that it was right not to attack with the Titan of Industry that turn. I didn't want to just die to a removal spell on the 1/1. Get to face off against Octabe. Pretty nice hand. Perhaps not against what my opponent has going on, though. If I draw a Topiary Stomper off the top, that would be nice. Topiary Stomper off the top one time, please. You're not a Topiary Stomper. Had I been on the play, it would have been nice. Shadow's Verdict on the draw is too slow against this deck. I don't think there's anything I could hit. Certainly not that. Now, Bloodchief's Thirst is a good card. I'm going to be on the play. That's a good thing. Probably I don't want this many Reckoner Bankbusters in my deck. Let's just try it like this. Because the other option would be the Soul Shatters. They don't seem very good against that deck, though. Lotus Cobra, what? Yeah, that is a thing that can happen to me. So I think the plan here is to try to Infernal Grasp the Chariot, which may not work. Doesn't really matter that much whether or not it works. Either way, I'll be using the Shigeki and probably casting Infernal... Well, I will be casting Infernal Grasp.
Do not underestimate the trees can fight their own battles.
Close. Want to play Meathook Massacre, or do I want to just play the Titan? I think I should play the Titan. And we'll go with the shield counter and a 4/4. So my next turn, maybe I'll do a Meathook for less than 4. Do like Meathook for 2 or 3, and then also play the Shigeki. They have Blizzard Brawl in their deck still. In fairness to them, I just didn't do anything the first game. There's no way they could have really known how to sideboard. If I Massacre for 4, I kill through Snakeskin Veil, and they played an untapped land rather than playing this Lair of the Hydra, which makes me feel like that's a good idea to do this for 4. I guess if I'm doing it for 4, I should just do it for 6. Huh. If I do it for 6, though, I don't kill the Ren this turn. I think that's fine, though. I don't get to kill the Ren this turn, but I am going to deal a point of damage to it, so they're not going to get to minus it next turn. They're just going to get to plus it, so they'll get a couple more lands, but probably the Titan will be able to kill it next turn. Or the turn after, rather. And obviously I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be able to do a very large Shigeki. Or play a Storm the Festival, or flashback a Storm the Festival. I'm going to run out of stuff to do. And I think that they're going to be in pretty rough shape. Why did they do that? Possible. Okay, second Ren, I guess. That's the point to doing that.
Symbiosis is harmony, and harmony from root to canopy. The trees are mighty.
Titan of Industry is really a very strong card.
Unbearable.
Another Ren. 6.
Do not. The will of the woods is made
Not prepared to fight
manifest.
off your 8/8. Or am I? Again, I'm worried about them having Snakeskin Veil, so I'm going to play a little scared.
Even in defeat, we grow.
Do this now just in case I hit a land that I want to play. Spoiler, I didn't. That is a really good card, though, that I hit. You can kill the 8/8 without killing my Titan of Industry. I'll take it. I could cash my shield counter in for 9 life here, but I have enough life that I don't think that's actually worth doing. The shield counter does mean that the Lair of the Hydra cannot deal with the Titan of Industry. I would play this as land, I think, if I drew it, so I'm going to choose to get it here. So they animate this for 7 and block, and then they have Snakeskin Veil. Bad for me. I screwed this turn up. I should have started out by attacking. Because I could have gone attack, they animate as a 7/7 block, Snakeskin Veil to get up to 8/8, and then I just Shadow's Verdict and I get both their creatures. Ranger class. Alright. That's something. Not going to be enough, but it is something. That went better. I really don't want Soul Shatter in my deck now that I've seen how many copies of Ren and 7 they have. That is not a good fight to try to have. So much of the value in the Ren and 7 is from the first activation, and then if you wind up just trading a 3-mana card to get like the 1 loyalty Ren and 7, that's just awful. It's a very respectable hand. Could go bad, but could also work out. This could be a stomping of epic proportions. I will definitely trade if given the option, which I think that the opponent will not expect me to be willing to trade there. Of course, they could also just Blizzard Brawl me to Oblivion here. Sure. It's weird. Why didn't they should have attacked with the Lotus Cobra, I think. Gonna get to a somewhat low life total, but next turn I'll be able to play the Topiary Stomper, and then they'll both be able to block. Hopefully that leads to good things down the road. Would have been nice to draw a sweeper of any sort. More lands are not what the doctor ordered. Come on, Titan of Industry. Or Meathook Massacre, or Shadow's Verdict. All would be welcome additions. Certainly going to double block. Let's just see if there's any other things that could happen. Signs point to no. Takenuma is going to be nice. It's at a minimum a Topiary Stomper, but we all know it's going to hit his Titan of Industry. Or it could also possibly get a Workshop Warchief if they attack into it. I think they messed up not attacking with the Werewolf Pack Leader the turn before. I wanted them to have to kill the Workshop Warchief there, not have the option of killing the Topiary Stomper. Which is why I didn't double block. So I did take a point of trample there that I might not have needed to. Alright. This board's not in horrible shape, but I do need to draw something over the course of the next couple turns. Just a bunch of lands isn't going to cut it. Titan of Industry would be great. Reckoner Bankbuster would be great. Shigeki would be great. Storm the Festival would be great. Well, Storm the Festival might not be great. It would be good, though. Shigeki wouldn't even be that good. It would just be a couple of okay cards. I mean, it would be good because it would be a lot of cards, but none of them would have been particularly good. I don't understand what they're waiting on with the Werewolf pack later. Maybe they're hoping to just draw Blizzard Brawl so they can start getting indestructible attacks in. Seems like a pretty ambitious plan. They're not even brawling with the pack leader. I need to draw a spell next turn. That is a spell. Wouldn't have been my first choice of spells, though. The attack with the Chariot, it's an interesting decision what to block with. If I block with the Workshop Warchief, it makes Meathook Massacre and Shadow's Verdict much worse draws. So I guess I'll block with this thing. I don't think they kill me next turn if I brick. Certainly kill me in 2 turns if I don't draw something good. That's pretty good. It is not great, though. If I do it for X's 2, I just get 2 Topiary Stompers. I guess that's fine. I've thinned a lot of lands out of my deck. A very respectable number. Our odds of drawing a Titan of Industry are above 1 in 9. I'm proud of that. Another Chariot. Ugh. You really got to mount it. You got to think about alpha striking your opponent. Do you really want to get obliterated when I draw Meathook Massacre? They do. They want to get obliterated. They're saying, sign me up for obliteration. Meathook Massacre off the top. Nope. They still only have 4 lands. I got 5 lands now. They're starting to flood out. It's their last card of Ren and 7, maybe? Maybe. Ooh, they have an Outland Liberator. Didn't go after Shigeki. Don't take any damage here. But they really are starting to have a lot of creatures, which I don't like that. And the Snakeskin Veil kicks in. It just means they can't play the Old Growth Troll next turn. Play this and hope that I hit Workshop Warchiefs. I'm going to be able to activate the Shigeki, so I'm not going to play the Binding of the Old Gods. More Old Growth Trolls. Sorcery speed, make attack to Old Growth Troll. Oh, their plan is to attack with the Esika's Chariot and clone it, I suppose. Not a terrible plan. There are many, many turns of this game that they should have decided to Alpha Strike during. I'm either chumping with the Topiary Stomper or I'm blocking with the Workshop Warchief, depending on what I mill here. And I'm going to block with the Workshop Warchief, given that I didn't mill a Shadow's Verdict or Meathook Massacre. Another land. Tap land, which I'm going to be playing. So, 7 mana for Titan of Industry. 4. I think I can get a Topiary Stomper and a Titan of Industry this turn. And I guess I'll just gain 5 life and make a Rhino. My deck does not contain many lands. I don't think the Soul transfers in my graveyard. It's not. So Soul Transfer is a really strong draw. Titan of Industry is like an okay draw, though the board is so crowded at this point that it's not even that exciting. Shadow's Verdict is a really strong draw. Meathook Massacre is a really strong draw. It's a reasonably strong draw. I have this Lair of the Hydra that can also block now. What do you got for me? I am ready, and very, very, very ready to draw Shadow's Verdict or a Meathook Massacre. Infernal Grasp. Not the worst, but I can do better. You can do better, deck. I trust you. You definitely did better, deck. Oh, no, 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 no. You're only doing this one. So we have 12 mana. I can get back 5 cards. I hope I can win the game by getting back 5 cards. Although I am really sad that I still haven't found a way to just get rid of all these stupid 2/2s. It's about the point where I should start attacking. I want you, I want you, I think I want one of you, probably one of you. Oh, definitely one of you. What do you got for me? Another Titan of Industry. The rich get richer. That's too many Titans of Industry. This is, I've become too industrious. Yeah, everybody get in there. Was this too ambitious of an attack? Perhaps. Do I think it's going to come back to haunt me? No. They certainly need to do a fair amount of blocking. It's a good first step. Obviously, they should kill the Topiary Stompers over the non-vigilance Rhino tokens. Also, don't chump block. Maybe their plan was to try to time me out by double blocking so much. wonder if I was supposed to have attacked the turn before. Seemed like it worked out pretty advantageously for me to have attacked. Alright, one game remaining. Will I get those juicy play-in points? If I draw a green land in my first 2 draw steps, this hand works out great. If I don't, this hand has the potential to not work out at all. Boo. It's the second time that's happened with Tangled Florahedron. I think they're worth playing, but they're definitely not all upside. I'm just playing a foretell-based strategy. Doesn't matter, I'm going to stomp them nonetheless. I need more swamps. So I should get one more at least. Maybe an attack into 4 untapped mana. It's so miserable for me if they have the Wandering Emperor. I think I'm just not going to bother. I don't want to lose my Reckoner Bankbuster. They didn't do anything. Doomscar. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm gonna play around them having Jwari Disruption there. That's why I played the Workshop Warchief over the Storm the Festival. There's not a lot that can go wrong if I play the Workshop Warchief. This card has really impressed me a lot more than I thought it was going to. I don't know that I think it's great, but it's played out better than I was expecting it to, for sure. The festival, let's storm it. Even lands would be welcome additions to the board. They appear to be playing some sort of blue-white control deck, and Shigeki is just really oppressive against blue-white control if the blue-white control deck doesn't show up with pretty specific answers. They also appear to have a budget mana base. Let's See what they have to say about industry. They don't like it. They're anti-industry. Understandable. Graveyard? That's lame. Let's see what they have to say about industry, though. Probably have too many cards in my sideboard for this matchup, because I just don't think it's going to be a very common matchup, but I do think I'm well prepared for it. Seems unlikely they can survive this turn. I take that back. They have study break. All right. I was caught completely unaware with that one. Wasn't expecting that one either. Also, they've yet again managed to exile something. I don't like that. Might actually lose now. Probably not, but it's at least a possibility. Workshop Warchief. Topiary Stomper, not bad. We have 2 cards down here. Now there's 3. And then there were 3. Pitch to cover up. There's a cover up all along. What? Oh, there's only 2 things in my graveyard I can get. That's what's going on. God, I couldn't get the Meathook Massacre. Do you have a way to stop the Topiary Stomper opponent? The shield counters have been kind of underwhelming. Like, it seems like most people, the shield counters do a little bit, but they can usually fight through them one way or another. I wonder if I should have a Tenacious Underdog in my deck and or sideboard. Seems like it would be good in this kind of matchup. Here I come. I'm attacking. Everybody's attacking. I can even see the Hall of Storm Giants and I'm still attacking. Oh, it's a study break. Doesn't matter, still attacking. It's like the first time this card has been useful this entire run, and it's against blue-white control. Cards I want. I think Esika's Chariot's very strong. This matchup, and I like Duress. Even though I hate this Duress artwork, and I can't believe I'm playing with it. Definitely don't want Shadow's Verdict. Definitely don't want the Meathook Massacre. Don't really want Infernal Grasp either. Probably don't want all these Binding of the Old Gods. I think Soul Shatter, like, maybe. I didn't really see what their plan was to win. They did have Hall of Storm Giants, which this is fine against. They probably have Hullbreaker Horror or Lair or something like that. Maybe some Planeswalker. I guess the real question is, do I want any copies of Binding of the Old Gods? I do have a Turn 2 Tangled Florahedron, but sadly I have... This has got to be the worst card in my deck at this point. The Workshop Warchief has been kind of impressive. And the Topiary Stomper has stomped people left and right. I wanted to rest them this turn. I don't think it's actually a good idea. Because in order to duress them, I would have to tap the Tangled Florahedron, so I'm giving up a point of damage to do it. And there isn't even any spell I'm really concerned that they're going to cast with this 2 mana this turn. Like, there's no counter that stops the Stomper. And I don't think I'm really concerned about anything they would do with 4 mana on their turn either. Because it's not like I really need to stop a sweeper from killing my Topiary Stomper and Tangled Florahedron. This is the same deal where if they have a sweeper, it's fine. They'll kill the Florahedron and the Stomper, and they'll get half of the Workshop Warchief, but I think I need to just fight through it, especially because they foretold. If they hadn't foretold, maybe it would have been worth duressing them, but the duress can resolve, and I still don't even get the sweeper necessarily. Fateful Absence, that's fine. I guess I'm dressing now. Got Dissipate, not bad. More stomping. It's nice that the Stomper has Vigilance here. They can't get me with the Wandering Emperor, which they've chosen to fill their deck with Study Break, which I'm going to really strongly say was not a very good decision. Now that I think about it more, this Binding of the Old Gods should probably be Meathook Massacre, just because at a minimum it can help out against a Mascot Exhibition in a way that, I mean, Binding of the Old Gods does a little bit against Mascot Exhibition, but it's way worse than Meathook Massacre for sure. So I'm going to get a Warchief back, and I'm going to cast it, even though there's a reasonable chance that they have Doomscar. But this is going to put it... I'm going to be left with the 4/4 Rhino, meaning at a minimum I can crew the Chariot next turn, hit him for 4 and get a Rhino, but I can also just play Turntimber Symbiosis, and if it had hit a Titan, they would die, but they had Farewell. So my plan was... it was bad. Didn't work out at all. Let's see if they can get out of this one. I got the shield counter protecting me from Doomscar. I've got the Lair of the Hydra threatening to kill them. I think I can do it for 8. We got this Rhino that's just going to be part of the attacking team. I'm going to get hit by Study Break again, aren't I? Every time I think that something good is going to happen, it's always Study Break. Wait, they just gained 4 life. That was just gained 4 life. Okay. Alright, so successful first run through this thing. So I got 1,000 gems, 3 packs, and 4 playing points. And I would have spent 750 if I'd paid gems to enter. Not really a great way to make a profit. So let's... how do I copy a deck in this new interface? Clone. What did we learn from that? Because that was literally the first 5 matches of that I played. So cards I did not really like. Infernal Grasp. I didn't mind... like, I want to have some cheap removal spells, but I think Infernal Grasp was probably worse than Bloodchief's Thirst would have been. Being able to kill a Planeswalker would have been nice. I don't know that it came up in any of the games. Also, just being able to kill like the token from Fable of Kiki-Jiki for 1 mana instead of 2 might have mattered at some point. I liked Shigeki. I like the Bankbusters. I wouldn't play a 4th. I would maybe consider playing only 2. Meathook Massacre was fine. I don't know that I wanted more. I definitely think that 4 in the 75 was overkill, so that's the card I could shave. These 3-drops, the one Soul Transfer was really good. The Topiary Stomper seemed good. The Celestus was fine. Binding the Old Gods was probably not worth playing 4 of. Shadow's Verdict seemed like a really strong card against that red-black deck. So I could see wanting more of that. Storm the Festival was like... It wasn't great. I think that there's not enough 5-drops in my deck for this to really be a good card. Like, it suffered from the fact that Binding of the Old Gods really wasn't that good of a hit off of it in a lot of spots. Like, there was one time I just took 2 lands. There was one time I hit 2 Workshop Warchiefs, and it was pretty good. I think this card might be fine, but I think my deck needs to be constructed a little bit differently to take advantage of it. I think that I could have had some Chariots in my main deck, maybe. And that would have been a better thing to hit. Like, what if I had just did that, cut these 2, and cut another one of those. Have 2 Chariots. Blood Chief's Thirst. The ability to destroy any non-land permanent is... It's less exciting than it would be in a lot of decks, just because I do have the Titan of Industries can kill artifacts and enchantments. And like these removal spells can kill planeswalkers, and I've got all these giant tramplers that can also kill planeswalkers. So maybe this is a somewhat better spot to be in. And then I didn't want that. It's an emergency that I must change the art on these Duresses. That was awful. And I think I could have used like another 1 or 2 Blood Chief's Thirst in my sideboard, maybe. Is it possible I want the 4th Shadow's Verdict? Is it that important? I'm not ready to say that yet, but it is a possibility. I don't even know. What other cards would I even want? I guess maybe I want Go Blank. In case I play against somebody who's using their graveyard. Don't want a 4th Workshop Warchief. Don't want any of these. Do I want a Shia? No. Battle Mammoth? No. Froghemoth. Not really. What about Kura? This could also be black. The black one is a better card than Kara. Junji. Or maybe I just want Lolth in my sideboard. I wasn't playing Ren in 7 because, like I said, I don't really like having Ren in 7 when you aren't just like a full-on Chariot deck. I think it's pretty underwhelming. But maybe Lolth is actually what I want. You know what? What if we did this? It's just good to have a lot of, like, to have pretty high impact 5-drops because of, you know, Topiary Stomper is going to curve you 3 to 5. Something with Celestus. That's pretty nice. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for this video, which is either one really long video or I've split it up into 2 videos. You guys will know that. I don't know it at the time of this recording, though. So I think this is the updated version of this deck, with one exception that I wanted to try. I think that this deck can afford to play 1 Field of Ruin as well. I think it's kind of still to be determined if it's good to play this many Tangled Florahedrons. You're really happy if you can cast it on, well, you're at least somewhat happy if you can play it on turn 2. I think every other turn it's probably worse than just a regular land. It's also possible this deck maybe had 1 too many land in it. I don't know. But anyway, that's the point I'm going to leave it at here. So this is like version 1.1 of this deck, maybe. This is where I would start at if I was going to enter another event. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys are having fun with Streets of New Capenna, and I hope that you feel like you can find stuff that is good against Ob Nixilis, so you don't have to only play red-black. I don't know that this deck is good against red-black yet, but I beat it the one time I played it, even though it was kind of a weird version. But it was enough that it gave me some hope. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next time.